Hey everyone, welcome back to VinterGard. My name is Avi, and in today's episode, we're working on what I believe to be one of the most important structures in the entire park. It's the Grand Terminus train station. This station isn't just about transportation. It's going to define how guests move through VinterGard, how different areas connect, and how the park reveals itself over time. So today's less about decoration and more about laying down an anchor. The structure that everything else will eventually grow around. So as always, feel free to sit back, relax, and enjoy the build. When I start a park like VinterGard, it's really important for me to have an anchor. That can be either a roller coaster, a restaurant, a gift shop, or even a flat ride. For me here today, it's a train station. And just like the name is, the Grand Terminus, I wanted it to feel grand. Some of the inspiration for this station is based on Central Station, I believe that's what it's called, over in New York. The architecture style, the high ceilings, it has a very grandiose feeling about it, and I wanted the same thing. It's something that it was new for me. The whole build today is pretty new for me. Adding detail, adding layers, I've done before with restaurants or roller coasters or the station for the coaster. But building a grand train station was new, and I wanted to make sure I get it right. That's why I pre-planned a whole blueprint to make sure I don't make any mistakes or get stuck on something. What you're seeing on the screen right now is laying down a foundation for the station. A quick heads up, this wall piece, scenery piece, does change later. For some reason, at first I thought the plaster wall will look good, and most of the time it would. But for the look and aesthetic I was going for, after placing it all down, it just wasn't fitting. And so off camera, I do change this all to I believe it's called a stone wall market piece, or just stone wall piece. Having the stone brick look, or stones being placed there kind of look, really went with the overall look I wanted to get. And so what you're seeing is still important, right? You're seeing a foundation. It's also an idea of how you can make a lifted pathway look like it was meant to be there. It just isn't random, or it's a floating piece. And laying down a foundation for anything is very crucial. This part is something I think that takes me the longest. The planning, the overall blueprint. It's why having the blueprint to my left or placing it to the side was important, rather than deleting it or checking it later. Okay, this is where something's supposed to go. I think it was really helpful, and something I'll do for future builds is to have it with me in the game as a reference. And even though it doesn't turn out exactly like this, like the blueprint, having it there as a reference was very helpful. It meant that I didn't have to overthink my layout or spend too much time on, is there going to be room here? Is there going to be, how's the path going to go from this side to this side? Even though that's possible, it's done continuously. Many YouTubers or builders, even casual players, we do it all the time. But sometimes organizing your layout, your game plan for what you're building, really makes your life easy. I found it very helpful to not just have that blueprint, but have it almost like an inspiration, not to get burnt out that, is this gonna work? Is this gonna fit all together once I add the roof on top? Like, does it make sense? And so I highly recommend you guys do that if you have the time, or you want to make a more serious, detailed build. I'm not saying that a lot of builds aren't serious, but just very realistic, and I think it adds more fun to the overall build, because when you're done with it, you're kind of proud that, wow, I did that. That's really cool. When I first started playing this game, I was watching videos on different YouTubers that were building these amazing scenery pieces or coasters, and I was like, how are they doing this? Am I going to be able to do that? It's why I think I have over 800 hours on Planet Coaster. Trying to figure that out, trying to make mistakes and learn from it, and even after having 800 hours, not having built this single grand train station the whole time, I wanted to make sure I get it right, layering right, details right, and you're going to see that throughout this video, is layering on top of what's there. What you guys are seeing right now is getting the overall layout done, really completing the foundation. I went for the townhouse brick wall pieces again, because I think those are the pieces that, or those scenery pieces are the ones that really set the, not just the tone, but really are the overall inspiration of VinterGard. I think it really matches what look I want to go for, as well as it kind of transitioned nicely out of Main Street using those same wall pieces. And so making sure that the layout is done before anything else. I know many people do this, but it really becomes easy after this. Now it just comes down to how I want to place certain things, where a ticketing booth or anything like that will go after, benches, foliage, whatever comes after. But laying down that layout, seeing how things are going to be. Is it grand enough? Is it large enough? Is it too large? Does it need to be brought down a little bit? And so it might be something that I spend the most time on, but at the end, spending the amount of time that I need to make sure I get it right is so worth it, rather than having to fix that later on. Because fixing something once all your, additional details, your roof is on especially, it's a lot harder to change. It's possible, but it's a lot harder to change. And so I wanted to make sure that not just the layout, but something that I did different in this build is, and you'll see that in a little bit, is start building the interior first. What I've done in the past is put my roof on, finish up the outside, be happy with what has been done, and then start in the inside. I found it to be a lot harder to do it that way, once your roof is on especially, because sometimes you might get stuck in the roof, your camera angle, and so quarter of the time you're spending trying to get the right camera angle on how to build. And I really didn't want to do that, and I think I've seen other people where they put the roof on at the end. And we did the same thing here. To what I believe I completed what I wanted the inside to look like. And then towards the end is when we actually put the roof on. I was really happy with the result of that, and it's something that I'm gonna be doing going forward. And so besides that, I got the floor in as well, and I think I was doubting myself a little bit on having the marble floor, but I don't remember where I'd seen it. You guys can let me know, but I don't think Central Station has marble floor, but I could have sworn I've seen it somewhere where they had marble flooring for the train station. And I think it looked really nice. It really added to the grand look of the building. And I think because I've seen the actual result, it really did come together really nicely. I was really happy with the way it had turned out. And that's something I did not change. Like I'd said, the plaster walls that go under the path I had changed after, and I think you guys see it right there. It's now the stone wall pieces. The floor, which I've done in the past, put a floor in and then change it afterwards. That's something I did not do here. I was immediately happy with the marble floor, especially the color. And right here, something that was not in the blueprint. Adding these bridges, because while I was building this, I realized that this could almost be a secondary path that goes throughout the park. Besides having the one next to it that you guys saw in the last episode, I wanted an additional pathway where the guests can choose the train station, or they can walk through under these bridge areas that you guys will see later. I think adding as much pathing really fills up your park, but also gives it the overall look that I think I was going for. And so that's another thing that wasn't in the blueprint, wasn't in the, I'm trying to think of the word. I'm thinking of a word that we use this, there was a pattern that we use for science. But you've got your hypothesis, and then you start writing out your, what the rest of the research is. But in our hypothesis, I hope I'm getting that right. But our hypothesis did not include a bridge. I know there's a better way to say this, but I'm just saying whatever comes to my brain right now. Hope you guys don't mind the sudden brain thoughts that I get, and then I want to include them. I want you guys to know my thought process, not just in these random rants, but what my builds look like, how I think them out, what changes as I go on. And right here, I'm going to let you guys see a whole ticketing booth as well as a refreshment counter get built. But before I see you guys after that, I wanted you guys to see how my thought process goes on what I do with layering. Not Larry, but layering. How I add details, and how just adding trim on top of another trim goes so well. It adds so much depth to your build. It's something I learned a little bit later on into building on Planet Coaster 2. And I didn't realize how much of an effect it has. It really, something that could have looked really simple looks not just so real, but it really brings a certain vision to your idea. So right here, you see me taking these stucco pillars, sinking it a little bit into the stucco walls, and it gives you that look. In my head, I had this certain idea, and this was the certain look that I wanted. And this is something I recommend. Try take any piece, add it in a different angle, and see if it works for you. Something that was never meant to go there might just, work better than you might have imagined. Rather than having to take I guess they're just called the shapes, right? Your square, circle, the shapes that were offered. Rather than just taking those and trying to make something completely from scratch, I found that you can take so many random scenery pieces and make it work for you in a way that it wasn't meant to go that way. And right here, just adding a little barrier so that the guests aren't walking behind the counter. I hope the barriers are working. Sometimes I found that I've had an issue where the guests are still able to walk past them. And so I hope later when we let the guests start walking in that they're not doing that. And so I hope you guys enjoy this interior of the Grand Terminus build, and I'll see you right after that. I hope you guys enjoyed the build of the counters and foliage in the interior foliage. I had a lot of fun in experimenting how to add layers and details to something like that, and I think you guys saw that thought process go on as the build was happening. That's something I keep learning as I do these builds, is making something work that might not, usually work that way. I think that's the crucial part in this game. There's so much we can build that may have not, be meant to be done that way. I've seen somebody take the, if you guys seen the movie Dune, and they made a coaster. I'm trying to remember how they had done it, but it was a coaster that went through the whole park biome, and as you're on the coaster, the large sandworms are following you along your ride path. And I believe they put that sandworm also on a coaster and just aligned it with the main ride. And that's an amazing example of you can really do anything in this game. That's why I love this game. That's why I have so many hours on this game, is, experimenting with so many ideas. You can be as creative as you possibly want to be. I highly recommend, if anybody wants to just have a creative outlet for something, Planet Coaster 2, Planet Zoo, I believe even the Jurassic World Evolution 3 game that just came out recently, you can really stretch your creativity. And I promise I'm not at, Frontier Developments, is that the name? I'm not, a sponsor of theirs or anything like that. It's just Planet Coaster 2 alone I've discovered this year. And it's a game that I've been obsessed with ever since, and I really recommend if you just want to be creative. I'm sure a lot of people who watch these VinterGard series already do play Planet Coaster. And right there, I didn't talk too much about it. Got a little bit distracted with my rant, but wanted to, instead of doing a custom media for departure signs, build a almost like chalkboard type of sign. And it's something that I want to make sure that I do for the rest of VinterGard series, is not overdo custom media. Even though I really enjoy making that and then downloading it, adding it into the park, I think sometimes if you overdo it, it can be almost, I don't want to say lazy way to get something done, but I already had custom media behind the ticketing booth. I didn't want to just be custom media everywhere. And I can't really get a good chalkboard look on a screen, and so making that from scratch was my best bet. Same thing here. Something that I'm trying to do more often is make furniture pieces or certain scenery pieces within maybe a restaurant or this train station from scratch, things that aren't offered in the game. And so here we're making a locker. I believe they have lockers in train stations. You guys can correct me on that, but I think so. And so rather than maybe downloading it off the workshop, which I love doing too at the same time, and always giving credit to those that make something amazing, I wanted to try my hand in trying to figure it out myself and see if I can make it happen. I think the more I do it, the more I'll be used to not just making mistakes and might not be the full vision of what I wanted, figuring out how it can be done. It's why something I avoided doing and have still avoided doing is making like custom characters. I'll still use the animatronic characters or anything like that, or if I really need to, downloading one off the workshop. I will try my hand at that and trying to custom build my own. But here you guys are seeing that, is trying to make these lockers, trying to create more detailed pieces that are built of the most random scenery pieces. Like a lot of the pieces here are, I believe, coaster support pieces. And right there you saw me switching the number 6 and 4. As I was building this, my wife came by and she was like, I don't think your numbers like are going in the right sequence. I don't think I've ever seen 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 4 go below 3 and then go backwards. And so I realized that. I didn't realize that. She realized that, corrected me on it. And so I changed it. And right here, this is where I noticed maybe the lockers were too big. And just not only does it give more room for more locker space, but I think it gives, a better forced look at, this isn't just some giant piece of metal sitting here. Having individual like box sections does make it look a little bit more real. And I am sorry for the, what would you call these? Like the little, we had them in high school. It's like your lock that you rotate. I don't know why the name isn't coming to me right now, but they don't really look like those locks, do they? It's just a little circle within another circle. And I was like, yeah, that kind of looks close to what those locks will look like, the spinning locks. And so this overall locker look, I will repeat it, and I believe there will be 4 of these in the station, just to give, we're not expecting just 25 guests to come in here, 8, 9 guests to be here, so we want to make sure that the guests have enough space to place things, personal items or anything like that. Another thing that I'm realizing is I'm not adding enough security cameras, just for the safety of guests and also their own reassurance that their valued personal items are being watched or are protected at all times. And so that's something that I will definitely add on after the builder off camera. And right here, I wanted to make windows that, even though I could have taken windows from the game and sink them into the wall, make it look like they're not just sticking out, I wanted a lot of natural light to come into the station, and to the windows also to be pretty large. I didn't want it to just be a small square or a triangle, just random like shapes that, are the size of a person. I wanted them to be so large that you look up and you're like, wow, I can almost see the sky. Like, I know in general you can see sky through the windows in a home. I wanted this to really have that wow moment, that these are large windows and there's a lot of natural light coming in. And right here also, as I'm building it, I wasn't completely in love with the basically supports of the window. It seemed too busy, too cluttered. And so you guys will see in just a little bit is me changing them out. And I believe the change that I made makes it a lot better and more natural looking. And right here, it took me some time to figure out, but to create a trim around the almost, I know there's a better word. I don't know why I'm having such difficulty with thinking of certain words today. I will make sure I do better on that. And I wanted there to be a certain trim around this. I'm just going to call it like pill-shaped window. It looks like a pill to me. So I wanted there to be not too like sticking out kind of trim, but just something that kind of stands out because it is the center. It's the first thing guests see as they enter. And I wanted to make sure I get it right and also not be themed in a way that's too separate from the overall theme of the area, because even though they are mythology pieces, I didn't think that they were it didn't look too Greek or mythology. What would be the word there? Mythological. I just have to think it through, take a pause and think it through. They didn't look too mythological to me, and I think it worked really well. I do believe I changed the color to black in a bit because the gray, there wasn't too much gray going on in the overall station besides the lockers. And that's another thing that I find I enjoy, but also is crucial for certain builds like this, is matching your colors to everything. I wanted to make sure the marble floor matched. It wasn't too busy, but if you're not able to see it here, but there's a little bit of like a brown hue in the marble, in the, I guess you would call them like the marble veins. There's a little bit of brown tone in there, and I think that comes out a lot better when you're walking throughout the station because of the brown like color in the walls, as well as the trims and some other pieces. It really stands out, even though the floor might be more like white, off-white kind of color. It really does pop later on. And this is another thing, just like when we built our counters, our ticketing booth counter or the refreshment counter, is adding layers. And so here we're adding some trim to the outside. This I'm more familiar with. It's something I've done a lot in the past. I kind of enjoy it. Once I like get all the trim done, I find it to be like, oh, the park, or the building, the whatever it might be, really is coming together now. Because before that, it's, I think, a little, it might be, let's say, too bland or dull. And once you start to add, just, it could be even a wood beam that goes throughout the building, maybe on the bottom side, or it could go around the edge on the top, close to the roof. But it really does add to the overall building, or the overall look you might be going for. And here you're seeing me kind of testing out. Maybe I do add the windows and sink them into the walls. But as I was looking at it, I realized, okay, you know what? I'm going to stick to my original thought. And that's going to be the grand windows. It's going to, that natural light coming in is going to make a big difference. It's really going to, I think, bring that, like we had said way earlier in the beginning, central station, like grandiose look. As the guests are inside the station, they'll really not just get a peek, they'll get this large, I guess you can say, like, just point of view of what's going on outside too. That natural light coming in is going to be very helpful. And it's also why I basically tinted the windows to be a little bit dark, because from the outside, I didn't want it to be just a clear image through all the way in. But when you're inside, you're seeing it a lot more clear from the inside to out. And here again, using that same window supports, I was like, I'll try it one more time, see if it works. But now you guys see it's changed. It's the, I forget the name of them. They're again stucco pieces. I believe I was putting the window up, the one that's on top of the ticketing booth, as well as the refreshment counter. I was testing it out there, loved it, and then did it to all the windows. And you're kind of seeing it here if it's not going too fast. I think it went a lot better. It, not just the color, but the thickness of the supports also helps. The other ones looked a little busy, but it also didn't really match the look that I wanted. And right here, I wanted some kind of pillar to sit at the corner beams of the building. A lot of the different pieces weren't really fitting for what I wanted. That's why I like say, you know, test out all the pieces that you think will work. Right here, I took a pillar, turned it upside down completely, and just put that throughout the, not throughout, but under each beam. It was as close as I can get to the certain look that I wanted. I know there's several other, like maybe stucco pillars, like you're seeing right there for a second, that I could have used, but for some reason the look of this kind of went for what I wanted. And I don't want to keep repeating, but like I said, just keep experimenting with different pieces. Place some things where it shouldn't be. and it might work better for you. And you might not have to maybe compromise for something that, you just want to maybe finish it and you're like, okay, I'll just put this here because it kind of worked for me. If it didn't work for you fully, take your time and get it done. I think it's why getting this 4th episode of VinterGard took me some time, was because this was a new build for me. Building in this fashion of, this type of train station, adding this much detail, especially getting the interior done the way I wanted it to be. A lot of it was new for me, and I wanted to make sure that I not only got it right, but in this video, you guys see certain mistakes that I made and learned from. I also had said in the last episode, I believe at the end, that I didn't think the episode would go longer than episode 3. But I believe this episode is a little bit longer than the last episode. When I was finished with the editing, I was a little bit shocked myself. I was like, how did I do this? How did I manage to make this longer? When I thought I'm just building a station. How did I manage to make this longer? But I think my thought process ended up being, not thought process, but what I wanted my overall video, or this video, to be was, I wanted you guys to see the build process through and through. See each thing come together. I could have made this maybe 25 minutes. I mean, you can generally make any video as long as you need it to be. But I wanted you guys to see each detail going. Even though there's some things that you might not see, if I showed you every single thing that was done to this video could have probably turned out to be about 2 hours. Maybe less, a little less than 2 hours. So I try to get as much in, but not make it so short that you're not seeing everything built out. And if you guys like this style of video, having it be this long, like almost like the long form videos, if you guys do enjoy that, I'll keep that going. But if you would like a little shorter versions here and there, or more often than none, I can make, 15 to 25, maybe 30-minute videos where we just show some of the build, maybe speed up the clip faster, or maybe not show everything being built. And then you guys seeing the end result. Like, you see the main things being done, the layout, the foundation, then maybe like right now you're seeing a roof being put, some of the interior. That kind of video could be maybe 20 minutes. But I wanted you guys to see the overall. I wanted you to see my thought process, how I think it through, delete things, then restart like I just did right here. I realized I wanted the roof not to stick out too much on the sides. But then as I looked at it and also try to kind of blend it into the main center part of the roof, it really wasn't fitting right. It didn't look great. And so deleting it, going back at it just like it is right now, it turned out a lot better actually than I had thought, like you guys are seeing there. So I'm really glad that happened. And so after this, I believe we do continue to build on top of the foundation, adding awnings. There was a certain awning that I wanted and I was not able to find it. It was this right here, but because it's railings. A specific railing I wanted, that certain look, I couldn't find it exactly, but once I pulled this one right here, it actually wasn't that bad. I actually was happy with it. I could have made a custom one and gone with that. But after I'd seen this railing right here, I was like, you know what, this is actually going to work really well. What I might do later on is I might spend some time I have a different saved park file called the Forge. where I just go build a bunch of things and save them as blueprints for me to use in future builds. I recommend you guys do that too. If you want to just, have a bunch of saved blueprints for yourselves, maybe you're already doing this, but almost like a catalog of your own creations that you might not use for certain parks but might work somewhere else, or could be a repeated blueprint for a lot of your parks. It's why I built something called the Forge. Not built, but created a park file called the Forge, where I can just go build as much as... Sorry about that, guys. I don't know why my audio actually cut out there. It just stopped recording. So I will figure out a solution so that we don't run into a problem like that in the future. But I think what I was saying before is just having something like a Forge where you can build and save is very helpful. And very helpful for you guys to have, a whole catalog for future park builds. And right here, I just wanted to make sure that the bridge area has all of its details. It, again, just like the station itself, make sure the trim is there. Just really brings everything together. And something you guys didn't see in this build was the centerpiece, like see-through window rooms. I built a Viking kind of boat and also a train on both sides. Not both sides, but one has the boat and one has a train. I wanted a little fun theme here where as a guest they're coming under the bridge, whether they choose to go towards Whispering Pines or they choose to go towards Steam Lake. If they went towards Steam Lake, they get to see a boat, like a Viking boat, because this is a Nordic park. It kind of, keeps selling the theme of, oh, this area is what this is going to be like. It is something I enjoy doing, and I'm sure a lot of you guys do. Is just keep the guest entertained, continue theming each section so that they, like when we go to Disneyland or any other park. I say Disneyland because that's one of the most recent parks I went to. When you start entering the Star Wars area, it really starts to transition into that. It's not just here's this and now here's this all of a sudden. It slowly transitions you into the Star Wars area. And it's what I wanted to do here is before you even get to Steam Lake, if the guest choose to come this side towards that part of the park, they get a little bit of a theme. And I think I'll make sure I do the same thing on the other path that leads to Steam Lake or Whispering Pines. Just keep the blend from this part of the park transition more smoothly into the next part. And it's again another thing that wasn't in the blueprint, but I realized afterwards that I can do. And here you guys are seeing custom media that I had downloaded not too long ago. Again, advertising those parts of the park. And I'm really enjoying doing this kind of advertising. In one park, I think I did a full advertisement just for the shops, like I'm trying to remember, Latte Love or Chief Beef and stuff like that. That was pretty fun too. But this one I want to theme around or advertise around the park areas. So these screens, I'm not entirely sure if these are going to be left here. I do want to make almost like an advertisement for maybe a coaster or a restaurant in those areas the guests start to walk towards. And I think that's kind of like, I'm trying to think of what that would be related to. I think if you go to certain amusement park, sometimes they will advertise their most attractive attraction. Is that correct? Attractive attraction. Maybe most hyped, maybe most something else. I don't know if that was the right wording, but yes. Something that, is their bestseller maybe. They're going to advertise that more than anything else. Makes sense, I used to do the same thing in the restaurant world, is you advertise your bestseller. It's something that will get the it will get the guest in the door. It will allow them to try it out, trust you, and then come back and try new things. We want the guests to trust us, that we're here to give them an amazing experience. And so, even if I got a little bit off topic there, I think for me, sometimes when I'm saying certain things like this, it's not just like, oh, this is what you should do and this is how it needs to be done. It ends up being more of a reminder for myself. It's almost like when, you tell yourself that, hey, you should drink more water. More often than none, you'll be telling other people that, hey, I don't think you're drinking enough water, or something like that. That might be my case sometimes. When I hear someone say they have a headache, I'll be like, are you drinking enough water? And then I gotta check with myself, am I drinking enough water? So here, I'm not trying to do a tutorial, but it's also, if I'm telling you something, I do want you guys to learn from me, in the sense that, see what I've learned, and if it applies to you, that's wonderful. Maybe you learn something new. But if it doesn't, it's also there just for, not just maybe a reminder, but it's also something for you guys to apply to yourself. Maybe there's some little small detail that I've done that, even though you're an expert, it might have, been it might have been something that you realize, oh, I could have been doing that a little bit differently. And it's, again, talking to myself. When I watch somebody else's video, or I'm talking in this video, if I'm saying certain things, it's also reminding myself that this is what I can do. That's what's possible. And to keep myself accountable, and as well as consistent. If I say that I'm going to build interiors, I'm going to make sure I fully build the interiors out. I believe we talked about that in the first episode. And I've applied that now. And the interior of this Grand Terminus station, I think, came out wonderfully. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I do. I know that this is one of the first times I've done this type of station build, but I learned a lot, and I look forward to doing many more just like it. And I can't imagine what the 10th version of this will look like down the road. And so before I keep going on that and going on a rant, I hope I'm not distracting too much from you guys while you're watching the build itself. But I'll let you enjoy a bit of a, not bit, but more speed build, and then I will see you at the end here. Alright, so before we wrap things up, I just want to take a moment to walk around the Grand Terminus and see how everything turned out. I think when doing these type of builds, it's nice to take a moment, step back and see what you've built. See if anything is missing or if some details look out of place. But overall, I'm really happy with the build because if you see from this view, it really is the anchor for the rest of the VinterGard. I believe when you're in different parts of this park, whether it be the Whispering Pines or the Frozen Ridge, you really see this station. So it had to be as good as it is. If there's anything on it that I can add, I'll definitely add later. But overall, I'm pretty happy with the way it came out. And I also, just a side note, I open up the park for the guests to start to venture around. I don't know if you guys are like this, but I love building the park out as the guests are walking around. Not only does it give an idea of what guests interact with or don't interact with, so I can make those changes right there. It's also just kind of nice. It feels a little busy. You're not super lonely in the park, right? So it does look like they're pretty happy with, the scenery of the train ride. And at the moment, they can only enjoy one ride. However, we will take care of that soon over there. So let's take a little walk around of the station and see what we've built. We'll add some snow. I just really like adding snow to this park. Really brings the overall theme together. And just so we can see the lights in the inside and outside. Yep. I think we've been doing 17 clocks so far. So yeah, that looks great. Okay, so here we have it. On the ground level, it really looks big. It's got quite that statement that, hey, this is the train station, right at the end of Main Street. And also, I'm thinking about, since Christmas is done, changing the theme of the festive scenery and maybe doing something else. So I'll do that off camera and see how it turns out. But for now, I'm kind of liking the overall look. I'm not going to change the string lights though. I really like the way the string lights are kind of bringing the whole Main Street together. But things like the presents and maybe this Christmas tree, we can change that out. And so let's go ahead before I get more distracted. But as a guest come over, they have an option to either take sorry, I had something in my throat. Either take the train station to a certain part of the park, or they can walk there themselves. And we have given out the option to either go and advertise, so they can go to the Steam Lake or Frozen Ridge from over here, as well as over there we've got Whispering Pines, and they can get to Frozen Ridge from here. However, I didn't want to advertise Frozen Ridge again up there, so just doing a little advertisement for the Grand Terminus station. But I really like this. It looks wonderful from here. Did I see a guest behind me? No. Guess they're just venturing around. Okay. So as we walk over here, they can get a little idea of what time the train is coming, what time they're arriving, departing, what the status is, if it's delayed or not. I might change one of these to delayed, just to add to the overall, realism. And here we go. Yeah, I'm really happy. It's one of the first times I've actually built out a whole train station, like to make it look grand, and I'm pretty happy with the way it looks. The guests have an option to either come over here. I mean, in reality, they'd have to come over here, get a ticket, and just a little advertising. They can book now and save, because everything is done digitally. You can get on your phone or scan a QR code, so they do have that option to do that online. And I really wanted to add this. I think I've seen this in certain places where you have a blueprint or established in something, and so I wanted to make sure we do the same. And even though we didn't exactly to the T get the blueprint done the way it is here, it is pretty generally formed around this, right? We have the train platform in the back, clock tower, and the overall building in the front. Few changes that you guys have seen is adding the bridges on the side before you enter. But the terrace, having benches, planters, and then that main entrance hall, we've generally gotten everything. Yeah, so I'm pretty happy with the way this turned out. And then they do have an option they can put things in a locker, and we talked about this in the video, and I want to make sure I get their name right, Mrs TeaRex. Just taking the ticketing box or station from their parking lot blueprint and just adding it over here. And so, don't want to get too stuck over there. Okay, that's something. See, this is why I have guests out. So I need to add some barriers under this wall just so the guests don't walk through walls, because it doesn't really look right. And then they have an option to get some refreshments and have a nice seat while they're waiting for their train or anything like that. Okay, so come over here. Same sign as we have outside with the departure times. Come right up here. We've got our little train. What would you call them? I forget. Are they... Wow, I don't want to get too stuck on that, but I can't remember what the people... conductors? Yeah, something like a train conductor just chilling out here, letting the guests know that they can queue right into here. And here we are. They can enter the train, but this looks great. I had a different idea of doing like a half circle glass roof, but I'm kind of happy with the dark look. Just being kind of closed off, it looks great. Oh, can't walk over there. Wanted to see if I can see through the arches there, but that's all good. But overall, I'm really happy. This would be a nice spot to just sit and read. And so there we are. I want to hear what you guys think about this build and just the way the station looks. If there's something you guys would have added or would like to see on it, please let me know. And now, before we completely wrap up the video, I'm going to do what we did in the last video and reveal what the next build is. I'm enjoying seeing, how we can teaser what's coming up, but I won't do this with every single build. Essentially, we'll do it with like the major builds, and if I can get a certain blueprint to look the exact way I would like to build it out, then we'll definitely do it for those. Let's see. Okay, there we are. The next episode right there is going to be a coaster. So my name idea for now is the Frost Yule. If I think of something else, I'll definitely do that, and then you guys will see in the next episode. But it'll be a RMC coaster, and it'll be themed to the main street and just the entrance of the park for VinterGard. I want it to stand out so that guests see it as they're on the train ride coming to enter the park. But I think it's going to be a fun build. We're going to fully theme it. We're going to get each area of the ride path to be fun, and as well as I'm trying to think how I want the station to look, so I'll be working on that. And so there we are. That'll be our next episode. And as for consistency on this series, I would like to post a video for VinterGard series at least on the weekends. Hopefully Saturday or Sunday, preferably on Saturdays. Just so that's something I want to hold myself accountable for, and that's something I want to do for 2026 is consistency. Whether it's with this YouTube channel or anything else, I want to have a bit of an organization of how things are done. It just helps me make good content, and then also keeps me accountable for what I can do, and I do enjoy that. And I'm glad that the guests are coming to this ride and hopefully enjoying it. Although it is the only ride. I said that before, so they gotta have to. And so there we are, guys. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I had a blast in making the Grand Terminus station, and I can't wait to make more blueprints like this, more builds, just really bring the park all together. And until next time, I hope you're having a wonderful day, and I hope you have a wonderful 2026. Take care. Bye.